What up, everybody? This is Chef, coming to you from sunny Arnott Heights in Greymouth. Welcome to New Zealand Murder History Podcast. This episode is using articles. Mr. Cooper's Tiny Cadavers, and that's on stuff.co.nz, 28th of the 8th, 2015. This is actually a really good article. Another one, Story, Cooper Daniel Richard, and Cooper Martha Elizabeth, and that's from the website terror.co.nz. Original articles in 1998. I read other articles too. But anyway, this case is disturbing as hell. Not suitable for children. In fact, if you're not feeling the best and you're a bit depressed, probably don't watch it. It's pretty nasty. Also doesn't intend to cause offense to the Cooper family of today or anyone involved in this case, really. This is just for education purposes. Society's values are rubbish, and they result in much misery. Check this out. Daniel Richard Cooper was hanged at the terrace goal. I think that means jail, or it could be an old word for a jail, or it could be a jail where they hang people. I'm not sure, but it says G-A-O-L, and that's what you get when you look up some of these old cases. You get old-ass words, and it's hard to understand exactly what's going on. But anyway, he was hanged for murders and criminal abortion charges. His small farm in the Wellington suburb of Newlands acted as a graveyard for unwanted children. His wife beat the charges because her defense lawyer said she was scared of her husband and very much under his spell. So she was let off 3 murder charges. This is a short story of Daniel Richard Cooper, the Newlands baby farmer. This is pretty messed up. No, seriously though, this guy was bad news. He was an illegal abortionist and baby killer, born in Otago, 100 km north of Dunedin. In 1881, Daniel Richard Cooper lived on a small farm in Newlands, Wellington, with his second wife, Martha Elizabeth Cooper. I've also read that they ran a convalescence home and rest home. This could mean anything. As far as I could tell, they had a home where they would take in wayward women, whatever that means, I'm not 100% sure, alcoholics, people with problems. I don't think it means rest home necessarily like old people rest home, although they may have had older people there too. Like I said, it's hard to figure out from the information available, but they eventually lived in Newlands, Wellington, and this is after Daniel Richard Cooper had moved all around the country. You see, he used to live in Dunedin and Otago, and he did some petty crime down there too. He could have actually done some more major crimes down there as well and gotten away with it. It's hard to know. But we're not going to do a massive timeline of his life. We're just going to rock with the end part of the story because it's the part that's kind of the most interesting anyway. I'm not sure, but I think one source may have it wrong, saying the property was a small farm when Daniel Cooper was the Newlands baby farmer. I mean, was that just a grotesque nickname he got out of the media, or did he actually live on a small farm? I mean, these days you don't get farms in Newlands anymore. It's very built up, but back in these days, quite possible. He was in Newlands from 1917 until he was hung dead in 1923. One article is titled, "A Gruesome Discovery, Fears of a Baby Farm Discovered Near Johnsonville." Newlands is just up behind Johnsonville. So yeah, baby farmer, it's a nickname. He murders babies, that's what it's about. Daniel Cooper was convicted of 2 murders when 2 dead babies were found at his Newlands residence. He was kicked out of the Seventh-day Adventist Church and the details are hazy. He may have been practicing illegal abortions then too. I read in one article that said he got a 15-year-old girl pregnant, and that was the reason why he had to leave. Another article said his first wife, Marion Burns, may have been first victim. The original cause of death was pericarditis, but police looked back into this. Police believe he poisoned his then 8-month pregnant wife, Marion, so he could marry Martha Elizabeth instead. Well, this is getting a little confusing. Let's just recap. Police found evidence of 10 illegal abortions and 2 full-term babies that were murdered. He probably knocked off his pregnant wife, so it depends on how you look at it. Possible serial killer, at least. And I personally think his second wife, Martha, was in on it. I mean, her lawyer got her off, but it's hard to know. It's hard to know from the information available. Cooper also had an affair with Beatrice Beadle. She gave birth to a baby boy. Cooper said he would look for a loving family to look after the son and adopt him out. But looking at Cooper's MO, that's probably not what happened. Anyway, some human victims of Cooper were actually used by police for training purposes. It was like you needed to be able to identify the difference between a dead baby and a doll, I guess, at a glance. But these remains were then later, in 2015, they were cremated and buried at Macra Cemetery out behind Wellington. So yeah, it's good they finally got laid to rest. But yeah, anyway, Daniel Cooper was 42 when they hung him. He was the last man to get hung in Terrace Gallows, Wellington. It was the 16th of June 1923. Almost 100 years later, the monster and his crimes are almost forgotten. So yeah, they hung him. Last man to get hung on the Terrace Gallows. It's a pretty nasty piece of history. I mean, he is a terrible man, obviously, and it seems like there was much more victims than he actually got done for. But those kids were victims of a society that didn't want unwed women to have kids, a society that failed to look after these kids. I mean, basically what I'm saying is the whole thing's a mess from start to finish, and he just took advantage of that mess. But yeah, it was pretty bad. Was his wife in on it? I mean, it's hard to say. I just don't buy that she was scared defense. It's kind of lacking. I mean, even if you're scared, there's still times where you can escape and give information to the police, especially if you know about crimes against children. But hey, it was a long time ago. And that's the story of the Newlands baby farmer. Whoa, what a mess. But yeah, if you went up to Newlands today, you wouldn't know it, It's a nice place. Well, it's okay, it's not bad. It's just a suburb up the back of Wellington. It's got schools, stuff like that. That's okay. I'd probably rather live in Greymouth. It's not bad down here. And there's problems here too, but it's quite nice, a bit less busy. Well, anyway.